Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs series at the crossroads of religion and life. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues in the area in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Join us now for this week's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
The Gloria Art Museum has been a part of Austin since 1961. Their expansive grounds have paths to explore and views of Lake Austin to enjoy. They provide guidance for individual expression with creative programming on-site at the art school, as well as through innovative outreach programs. And of course, their collection and exhibition of artworks communicate to the minds and souls of all who pass through their doors. Hello, I'm Ruth Landsberg, your host for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. And joining me today are Daniel E. Stetson, Executive Director of the Art Museum, Judith Sims, Director of the Art School, and Virginia Edgecombe, Chairperson of Fiesta 92. I'd like to welcome you all to our show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Mr. Stetson, tell me a little bit about the history of the grounds and the museum itself. I'm so curious about that.
It's my pleasure. I'm new to its history just since last August and enamored with those grounds and their rich history. Clara Driscoll gave the home in 1943 to the Texas Fine Arts Association to establish a museum. And in 1961, Laguna Gloria Art Museum was formally founded and has been in existence ever since. Just last year, we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the home. That's a very special place. There's 12 acres now. When it was first gifted, there were 24 acres, and the rest now are underwater with our wonderful dams.
Wandered into the lake there.
Exactly. And we use all of the grounds. The art school's in one part. We have an outdoor amphitheater that we use for a great many programs. We have a gardens area that we've had musical activities and events. And on the acreage, we have sculpture gardens as well as just paths for walking and communing with nature.
It's a wonderful place to explore. It really is. And I think I see it most often at Fiesta every year when I get to really see the grounds probably at their maximum capacity.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Fiesta.
Well, Fiesta is an annual event. We have it the third weekend of May every year. We are one of the largest juried art shows. This year we have juried in 225 artists. The criteria to be an artist for Fiesta, you have to be an original artist. Everything must come, if you're textiles, you need to weave your own fabric, or jewelry, the same thing. Not weave, but you know what I mean.
I understand.
It's quite a lengthy process. It takes a full year to put it on.
And there's a lot of programming involved in it as well. I mean, I always associate Fiesta as a real ritual of spring for all of Austin. Mm-hmm. It's such a big event.
Yes, it's usually the oncoming of rain. It always rains, but we always have a great time. There are 5 or 6 different areas of Fiesta that of the interrelating workings that goes into putting it on. We have the artist relations group that takes the applications for the artists. We have the auction area. When you're accepted as a Fiesta artist, you pay a booth fee, but then you also are required to donate an original piece of artwork. In turn, we auction that off during the weekend. And that's where the bulk of our money comes from: the auction, the food, the front gate admissions, and Little Fiesta, of course.
And so this is probably the biggest fundraiser of the year for the museum.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is, and we very much rely on our volunteers, and Virginia is an #1 volunteer. The amount of hard work that it takes to be involved with this effort, and the number of volunteers, it's about 10,000, mm-hmm. I think, with Fiesta that assist us just for that event.
Fiesta is put on by the Women's Art Guild. The Women's Art Guild is a nonprofit group. We were formed in 1956, and our main fundraiser is Fiesta. The proceeds that we make, we gross between $400,000 and $5,000 in a 2-day event. The net money that we make after our expenses, we donate to the museum. That money is the operating budget for the museum for the full year. Mm-hmm.
That's an incredible event. It's good for an agency to have that sort of annual event.
It's a lot of fun. We have a great time. This year we have, every year we select a poster artist, and that artist donates an original piece of work, which we auction off during auction. Then we take a poster and sell that between $30 and $40, depending on the poster. This year we're real excited. Dalhart Winberg is our poster artist. He's very famous, and his original that he's donating will retail at $18,500. Then the posters will sell for, right now they're $30, but during Fiesta they'll be $35.
So it's a very complicated event. And it seems also that it's a pretty complicated organization. I don't think I have a good sense of how large it is just from the visits I've had.
Its normal membership, or its membership now, is between 400 and 500 individual members currently that are also members of our museum. And they meet in a variety of committee structures, and there's a president of that board that relates to the trustee board.
For the Women's Art Guild?
Yes, of the whole museum. And they're very active, have an employee who assists them in their activities. They're a full professional year-long operation, not just that one weekend.
So it's a real parallel to the museum. It's a wonderful support system, it seems.
Well, our volunteers also help with this art school and with the hands-on and the museum openings. We have a style show every year. We just had our style show. The money they make, the proceeds go to the museum also in any capacity that they need that help in.
And the art school, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. That's one of the biggest programs at the museum.
Yes, it is. The art school was begun shortly after the museum itself in the 60s. And our basic function is to educate. And we view education really as a means of drawing out from people as opposed to putting something in that people don't already have. And what we're attempting to draw out is people's confidence in their own creative abilities and talents. And we view everybody as creative. And it's not really just a slogan, it's something that we have experienced and witnessed ourselves and seen in students over the years. We see creativity as a basic problem-solving skill, a basic survival skill that everybody has. We're not saying that everybody is an artist, but certainly everybody is creative. And in order to achieve this, we try to foster an environment that is very nurturing and supportive and very caring so that people can kind of relax, come there and relax in the studios that we have that look over Lake Austin. And
what sort of classes do you offer to the
Well, we offer really about 250 classes every year at least, and these are both for adults and children. And for adults, we offer everything from basic design and drawing to painting and sculpture and photography. We're for ceramics. We have a graphic arts program that has calligraphy, illustration, printmaking, cartooning. We have an expressive arts program that involves art therapy. It's not really, the emphasis is not so much on therapy as using the arts to explore, to explore yourself more deeply. And we also have art history classes, and we have a wide range of classes for children as well. Some of the same courses that we offer for adults, we offer for children. But we also have thematic classes that may focus on the circus or nature or certain cultures like Native American cultures, or different art history movements.
I see. Well, that's wonderful. I've also heard about some really innovative outreach programs that you do.
Right. We have scholarships that we provide for people to come to the art school to take classes, but we also have an extensive outreach program for people who cannot come to the museum either because of low income or because of disabilities or family problems or geographic distance from the museum. And this has been going on since about 1975. And this particular year, we're focusing on children in crisis or children who are youth who are disadvantaged. And we're in 10 locations this year, and we have 20 classes, and we have 2 artists who go in there every week for 12 weeks to each location and work with the children. And we're in correctional facilities, and we're in halfway houses, and we're also in detention centers, and we'll be later in the spring, we'll be in the Texas School for the Deaf and the Blind.
This seems to me to be just as you're saying, to reinforce it, just a wonderful way to reach out to these children who really are at risk and help build up their confidence in such a positive way.
I think for many of these children, this is the first opportunity they've had to have such one-on-one contact with an adult that's very nurturing and supportive, and I think that's really true. It sort of pervades everything that we do. All of us are more creative when we're more self-confident, when our self-esteem is, at its highest. So it's really kind of a philosophy that's provided for them, but provided for all of our students as well.
It's just a wonderful resource for Austin. I mean, the whole museum and all the programs, Fiesta as our benchmark of spring, and it must have been pretty overwhelming maybe to come into such a big organization.
No, organization I came from had 2 outdoor art fairs a year and 1 indoor one.
Oh.
Not quite as large. I mean, we had about 100 artists in our outdoor one, so it's about half the size. But many organizations like this do similar things.
I see.
But I did come to this museum because of the energy I saw here, the quality of these sort of programs, the belief, as Judith was just saying, about the creative abilities in all of us. Truly, education is central to everything we do. It's about experiencing the art, doing the art, looking and thinking about it in a way that is non-threatening. It is nurturing. I think that's an excellent word. The future needs creative problem solvers. I think that's something that I see every day in the news. We need creative problem solvers, life givers, people who feel that. And I think the arts are integral to that and will help to bring that about in Austin as well as the broader community.
And that's part of the experience that Austinites and visitors to the community have when they go and visit the exhibitions. They sort of get some of that, their creative thoughts and spirits flowing.
Exactly, and right now through April 26, we have our annual family exhibition up, and with that exhibit we'll have over 5,000 children come through and tour it. HEB and Mervyn's have made this year's exhibit possible. It's concerning creation, recreation, recreation, the art of found objects. I think an exciting show that deals with the environment and ecology, artists taking things of the world and reworking them. Mark Monroe taking garbage cans he found in Austin that were being thrown away. He's assembled and welded and created a tree out of them that is illuminated at night with shapes that show bulldozers cut into the steel.
That's just wonderful.
They're really fantastic pieces, and with that we'll have a children's activity space with stuff that the kids will come and learn to look at materials and transform them into something new. I think it's a challenge that we face environmentally as well as creatively to be looking at those kind of issues.
And this is an annual show that you do, the family show?
Every year, and another one will be scheduled next year in the spring, and they're always thematic. Next year our show will be about scale. We're going to deal with little to big, in a sense, and try to examine about 12 artists' work and how that relates to the experience, particularly of youth, but also of adults. It is intended that a family would attend. That's a goal, to make it something the family unit can do in again, I think, an entertaining and educating way. It combines those two assets. It's real easy to watch TV. I think that's part of it. And the arts, it is a way to go into a wonderful environment and to see beautiful things and to think at the same time. But you're not tested on the way out. I think that's also the great joy of that kind of education.
For the children.
Yes.
And probably for the parents too. How do you reach out to these families? I mean, what connects them to a museum?
Well, that kind of exhibit, which gives an activity area. Judith has classes and workshops that families come on different holidays. I know we had one recently for Valentine's Day, I believe there was one. Those are going on. We also are working with the Kids Club on another network, and KBVO. They're going to be doing an artist program for us, Artist of the Week, and indeed also focusing on Fiesta, our art school, and other programs that we do as a way to reach to the youth who connect, obviously, to the parents and the families. That's just part of what we do, but the volunteer spirit at Laguna Gloria also is family-based. We have a lot of couples that are involved in governing bodies or in volunteer groups, the children that come. Yeah, it's really a healthy and life-affirming sort of action.
We have one particular workshop in the art school. It's called Parenting the Creative Child, and it's something that we hope to expand. And we bring parents with the children in, the younger age children, and teach them how to work with their children using common household objects in a creative way. So that's another example of what Daniel was talking about.
It seems that historically, we were talking that that art was available to the general public mostly through the church. And most of the art that people had available to view and to participate and to talk about was pretty much patronized by the church. And that's
right.
changed a lot over the years, hasn't it?
Oh, that's right. The church has been very important throughout art history, both as theme for the works as well as patron. Some of that was visual education before a lot of literacy. That was one of the reasons why paintings and artworks were so valuable to the church. It also lifted the spirit, I think, was part of it. Around the 18th century, when the middle class rose and industrialism followed all the way through in the 19th century, there was a lot more individual patronage. People could afford to own some beautiful things
And
for
bring the art
themselves.
home.
Exactly. I think that was part of the really profound change. And even in this country, beginning with the revolution and all, there were itinerant artists that wandered the country and did portraits for citizens and community members and government leaders both to symbolize, I think, our history. That was part of what some of the original works were, examine nature, and to give a portrait and remembrance of a family member.
That's really had I think, just a fascinating evolution, this whole relationship, sort of a triangle between the individual and the church and art, how it's all linked. It really has been linked. And today, I think, it's very different. I think that, well, I think I want to hear what you think about that, really, is how the faith influences people in their artistic expression.
Well, art is about creativity. I mean, it is about creation in that sense. It's very personal, individual that way, I think, within the art world, but it's a unique process of connection, direct relationship between people and how they're feeling, because art is very much about that and an expression of that. And that very personal approach is one of the things that a lot of people receive upon visiting museums. I think it's a special kind of relationship that is very personal, very one-on-one, and the artists know that also. I mean, they are the creators in that sense, and I think it's heartwarming that way.
They communicate really through their work.
Exactly. It creates a sense of community and poetic contact with other human beings.
I think that Laguna Gloria has really become the sort of organization that exemplifies that community with the artwork and also with all the people who are involved. 10,000 volunteers with Fiesta, and you're a volunteer as a chairperson of Fiesta.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that that's really a link to your faith?
Oh, yes. I believe that, first of all, that God has given us the arts to show us the beauty that He's created in this world. As a Christian myself, that is why I volunteer. That is my service. And Laguna Gloria is a nonprofit organization, and I help them raise money. You know, that's what I'm trying to do, you know, with my life. And it's a tremendous task. It's, but it's really very self-fulfilling.
And that probably is pretty typical of the experience of most of the volunteers. It's an extraordinary commitment.
You know, what I think about when you ask that question is the Sistine Chapel with the painting of Adam and I guess it's God, with the fingers touching. It's like that spark of creativity passing from one to another. And for me, I was saying earlier that I see creativity as a representation or a manifestation of the divine, if you want to call it that. And that in some religions, God or the higher power, whatever, is called the creator. And so that's the thing that we share between one another in creating in the arts. So
You see that every day in the art school.
You see people grow, and you see them open up, and you see them calm down, and you see them gain, as I said earlier, confidence in themselves and feel better about themselves and being able to relate to other people better. It really spills over into every aspect of your life, I think.
Do you find that that's true for the teachers as well?
Oh, yes. It's a very loving kind of gesture to make, to teach people. And the people that we have working there are people who deliberately choose that. That's what they want to do. That's what I look for in people, is people that want to open other people up to this.
It must take, I'd like to go back just to that program where you reach out to the children and to the youth facilities. It must take a really extraordinary artist and teacher to try and bring that sort of spirit and creativity into a really, I think, confrontational atmosphere.
Yeah, this program is funded by the Texas Commission on the Arts, and there's a roster of artists that they select on an annual basis. And the people that we have working with us are really particularly sensitive and have a gift, I think, for dealing with youth that sometimes are resistant, have problems in communication, problems in dealing with other people. These are children who have been abused in some cases. They're children with disabilities. It's not easy for them. It requires a great deal of patience and nurturing and love to bring these children out, because they're not used to this kind of treatment by and large, and so they're hesitant.
It must be an extraordinary thing to watch.
It really is. It really is. We're going to have an exhibition, by the way, of the first part of the program in the middle of March at the gallery at the Driscoll. So people will be able to go down there and look at the work, and it's stunning. It's beautiful. There are masks and totems and all kinds of drawings and paintings.
And that'll be at the same time as the family exhibition at the museum.
Yes, indeed. Part of what I think Judith's referring to is art is a creative act, and taking some energies that could be deemed destructive or antisocial potentially, those same energies, if they are directed positively, it is energy, and you can conserve that energy and make something of it. And I think that's something the arts have a unique ability, and it doesn't take a lot to do that in terms of a lot of means or a lot of things about you. As I said with the family show, it's things you find in the world. Some people's trash or other people's gold. And
you demonstrate that with your workshop for the children that come through the exhibition.
Exactly.
I saw recently in the paper that you were looking for donated pieces for that workshop.
Yeah, and I noticed too that was on the green page, basically dealing with ecology. And I think that's important. We are very concerned with social trends and issues in our community, and that is one of our ways to be responsive to things that we want to enlighten it in terms of the art also, and examine it from that way. It's a method to bring people into dialogue about the arts also. I think that's important because we need more art. I really believe that.
And what's Laguna Gloria going to do in the future to get more art? How are we going to bring this about? You're really bringing a new vision, I think, to an organization.
Thank you. I think that we're really in a period of renewal, is I guess the word that I'd like to use. The museum has a long and very rich history. It's part of what brought me here. It's been very concerned with the community, very concerned with education, multicultural activities, which are, it's kind of a code word now for a lot of things. This institution has been doing that and integrating it into its programs for a long time. That hasn't been something that it's picked up to do. It's part of it. Something that I truly admire. I want to take some of those very real strengths and build from them. We do need an enhanced facility. Not certain where that will lead us. We have done a historic preservation study of our home that we are in now. That is something that we really expect to care for in a new way. And indeed the grounds, reinvigorating the gardens and the sculpture activities that are on those grounds, the art school buildings and facilities, the Texas Fine Arts Association and their needs. We're going to look into and are in the process of examining all of those. And soon I think we'll have an announcement about at least a group that we have hired to help us do the planning for that activity on those acreage.
A long-range plan.
Indeed.
To stay where you are.
Indeed. I know I've asked the board as a goal by next October to have a plan in place. I want that roadmap. And they've done a lot of work. The Board of Trustees at the museum, I really admire them as volunteers. I don't think often governing people are thought of that way, but they are volunteers.
The time they put in is volunteer work.
And they work extremely hard.
And they've had a tough few years.
Yeah, I think so. Staff too. The staff of the museum are an amazing group of very together and hard-working creative people. And when you combine that kind of energy, a board of trustees that do work and wish to, and be active and ask questions and pursue things. Harriet Nagel, who's our current president of the board, was very involved with the Volunteer Guild. Those sort of people and programs that can come from the staff's energies and ideas, I think you combine that and it's unbeatable. And it's also the sort of thing that Austin deserves. That's the other issue, that when we're in discussions at board meetings or staff meetings, we talk about the community. What can we do to serve them? What can we learn from the community? How can we be responsive? And it is that way.
Austin is such a unique community. It's really such an active, almost aggressive community to be a part of, really. Everybody laughs. I've been involved with nonprofits in Austin for a little while, and it's a real bonus, I think. It can be a difficult, but it's really a plus to have a community that cares that much about its own resources.
I agree with you. I'm amazed when I see how many people turn out for city council meetings, you know, as an example. You know, the museum wants to be part of all of that. I mean, within the community purpose. We're involved with the Parks and Recreations Department's review of comprehensive arts plan for the city of Austin. I mean, we are a partner in that process with many other people.
Really taking a leadership role in the art community.
Well, it's a joy to be part of that in that way, as well as to be part of the arts community. I mean, so many things. The University of Texas has so much in the arts.
Yes.
They have a constituency that pays tuition, about 50,000. Ours is everybody else, including that group, but also everybody else. And we're concerned with all parts of Austin. I mean, every point on the compass. I think that's important to note.
And you really have reached out into an extraordinary variety of the community, reached deeply into different parts of the community.
Yeah, and that's done really with the help of the community too. I mean, 3M helps us with our Seeing Special Things program, and we just do so much that in mass, if it was really truly understood, and a program like this will help, I think. The amount and quantity and quality of what we do is understood in the community. That level of service goes way beyond a location on the map. It goes into the hearts and souls of citizens and youth and community people.
So of these strengths that you see yourself building on with the museum and with the community, what are some of the top couple of strengths that you really see expanding in the next few years?
Interesting question. The art school, as it's expanded, is just about topped out with the facility that it has in terms of what it's capable of doing. I mean, 2,500 students a year. We're going to continue to serve them with high-quality programs, and that's a priority to maintain that.
Yes.
We're doing The Territory, which is a video media program which runs for 13 weeks. In fact, in March, it's on 5 times, on Tuesday evenings at 10:30.
That's right.
And Judith is
on PBS.
The curator of that and producer of that program. On, what's the station?
KLRU,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's also in Houston, too, now.
Yes, it's running in Houston, and we hope to syndicate it statewide eventually.
We're working in that way. Additionally, I think the attitude to be aware of the multiple needs of the community in terms of culture, in terms of history and style. Our main mission is to examine the American art of the 20th century in all of its diversity and character. That's by media and by people of color and all.
It's an exciting sort of future.
It is.
It really is. So it's been a pleasure to share some of the spirit of Laguna Gloria today, and I hope our viewers are going to take an opportunity to participate in some of these events and exhibits and all the programs that we've learned about, whether it's your first visit or even if you're already a longtime friend to the museum. I'd like to thank our guests for being with us today, Daniel Stetson, Judith Sims, and Virginia Edgecombe. And on behalf of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, I'm Ruth Landsberg, thanking you for joining us and inviting you to be with us again next week.
Thank you.
For more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at